a fast left-arm bowler who stunned the world,
Ball him! Ah, what a beauty!
an international cricketer who took the US team to historic wins,
What indeed of USA has overcome the 2022 finalists.
a software engineer at Oracle who codes by the day, and someone who does all of this powered only by plants.
I was a meat eater who was in the category who used to ask the questions like, how will you get your protein? This is a food chain. I have done that to friend.
What was it from your perspective back then that made you defensive towards anyone saying, hey, don't eat animals?
The core reason is taste. The texture of meat, the taste of meat. For example, a guy who smokes, he knows it's not good for health. But the mind can reason, अरे यार एक बार करके कुछ नहीं होगा. And that's where it starts. And for meat eating, again, we come up with these things कि protein कहाँ से मिलेगा? Lion is eating a deer. Internally we know कि what you're doing is wrong. Come on. I'm a fast bowler and we are very prone to stiff muscles, stiffness. But the hour and a half of yoga routine every day opens everything up. The definition of dharma itself is dharayati iti dharma. That which sustains is dharma. So sustainability is actually true definition of living in harmony with nature. Message is to just see yourself in everything and the right action will follow.
So being non-vegetarian to being vegan, how did it impact your performance?
In last 5 years, to give you
Most people only live one life, but my guest here today lives multiple. A fast left-arm bowler who stunned the world, a software engineer at Oracle who codes by the day, an international cricketer who took the US team to historic wins, a yoga practitioner,
yes.
and someone who does all of this powered only by plants. He's rewriting everything you know about stamina, strength, and sport. Saurabh, welcome to Sustainability with Shreyan. It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much for having me. And first of all, I'd like to commend you and your team for your efforts as well to spreading awareness in this domain. It's really needed for the planet. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation.
Thank you so much. And likewise, I've read so many media articles that call you every Indian child, every Desi child's nightmare and every Indian parent's dream, because you have the academic thing going for you, an Ivy League and a tech career. And you, of course, have the sports side of it as well, an international athlete. Do you feel that way? Do you feel like you're an Indian origin immigrant hero of sorts? Parent approved Indian, parent approved resume?
I guess that's for everybody to judge. From my perspective, I'm just a curious kid who grew up trying to understand how things work. I've always been a person who's pondered about, I used to stare at the stars and get existential thoughts and try to understand how things are working. So gradually naturally gravitated to having an interest in science and math since childhood. At the same time, grew up in a cricket crazy community. Cricket is like a religion in this country, and watched all the games of India since the 90s, had my heroes, my idols, started playing school cricket, slowly came up the ranks, and that passion also developed in parallel. So essentially, with the love for both the sport and the curiousness of education and science and math, it was tough to manage both because both are time demanding fields and you have just 24 hours in a day. So I had to club things. So when I used to travel by local train for training, I used to also read my books, do my homework. My parents used to come with me. And likewise, after doing studies, I had to go train and manage that around my exam times. So it was just looking at what's the next priority and trying to ramp up that part of my life at that time. And then somehow through the support of my parents, professors, my friends who helped me complete my journals and all that in engineering, that was the toughest 4 years of my life to balance both. Somehow managed to tread a path and keep both occupations good.
Yeah, because it's hard as someone who manages a day job, a desk job, working remotely full time as a software engineer and balancing an international career, cricketing career. How do you do it? Because you have to manage your time, your stress, fitness, pressure, travel, all of that combined. How do you keep up?
So there are two phases. One is when I'm at home. So through again a big journey, we have arrived at a thing that works for me. So if I can talk through like a typical day, it'll be morning. I'll wake up usually at 5:30. I'll do a yoga session for hour and a half. Then have my breakfast. Then I'll start to work. Basically, morning first half of the day I'll work. Be done at 4:30.
Hmm.
And then I'll either hit the gym. So we have 3 gym sessions a week, alternate days, 3 conditioning or cardio sessions. So 2 hours of that in the evening. So that's my workout for the day. And twice a week or thrice a week, pre-tournaments, I'll usually take an extended lunch break. I'll go for 2 hours and I'll actually bowl or bat. And then we have an indoor facility around 40 minutes from my place. So I'll drive there, I'll train. If there are meetings, I'll take meetings in the car on Zoom and all that. So somehow you manage.
You're a true multitasker. People say you can't do two things at the same time. I think you were doing multiple things at the same time since you were a child, pretty much.
So multitasking has its own, there are two peculiarities, I'll say. So we can do multiple things at a time a lot. But when you're in one moment, you need to be completely devoted to that moment. So when I'm actually playing, I'm only thinking of that. And when I'm actually studying or working, I'm only thinking or getting immersed in that. So it's most about that's one thing, the complete focus. And then the second thing is learning to context switch. When that thing is done, you just switch off. And that has helped sort of then balance all these aspects.
Yeah.
And the love. If you love, it doesn't feel like work. So you're not mentally exhausted.
Yeah, I need to learn how to compartmentalize from you because my brain with ADHD, I think it's in like 12 different places at the same time. So, when you have 100 tabs open on your desktop, I think that's what my brain feels like at all times. But
I go there too. I've been in that phase.
Yeah.
So I do one thing which I call as a thought cloud. So when I feel overwhelmed with a lot of thoughts and I'm exploding, I'll just give myself a break. I'll take a notebook. I'll write down whatever comes out to my mind, and then I'll actually read it. And then I'll actually understand that 80% of the things are not even important. So then I'll circle the things that are actually important. And then, okay, these 3 things are immediately needed right now. So let me focus on these. And then I become calm. And
Okay, I'm gonna
just work on
practice
that.
that. Thought cloud.
I call it a thought cloud. I don't
You've
know. I
given us
just
a very software name. I love
just-
it. Even that soft.
you basically went out.
Yeah, that has a software touch to it. I love it. It's still in the cloud. Wherever it
Yes.
is, it's in the cloud. You're doing everything that you're doing fully powered by a plant-based diet. But being an international cricketer, playing at an elite level, how does that impact your performance?
I think I've had my journey. When COVID started, I stumbled upon this documentary called as Game Changers. And that showcased how there were examples of athletes and professionals from various fields who were like excelling and at the top of their game with a plant-based diet. I had a lot of health issues leading to COVID 2015 to 2020. I was a hardcore meat eater and acid reflux and a lot of small health issues which were troubling me at that time. And in the documentary, there were also evidences that these things get fixed. So I said, why not try that? So I started shifting gradually. I gave up chicken, then I gave up fish, and the last thing I gave up was dairy. So first, initially, it was like a health-based choice where I wanted to explore how that works. It took some time. In parallel, other things were happening where I also stumbled upon a channel called as Sattvic Movement. They had
Love them.
a wing called Sattvic Yoga,
Yeah.
and they had a beginner 21-day challenge. And me and my wife Snigdha, we just enrolled for the sake of it. Ki let's see, we are in COVID. We need to keep ourselves up to date and fit. So let's start this journey. And then it was not the popular version of yoga that we know, that it was not just the postures or just the asanas. That's when I got introduced to authentic yoga. So yoga means a union with your inner self. And the journey towards yoga is, there are 8 limbs of yoga, or we call it as Ashtanga yoga. And so to be concise, there are 8. So it's yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Asana and pranayama are the 2 things that are popular in.
Yeah. That's what I mostly practice.
So that's actually, they are the 3rd and 4th stage. The first 2 stages are the most important. That's when, so before gaining knowledge, you actually need to detox yourself. So you need to let go of the negativity to get positivity in your life. So the first yama is ahimsa. So that's where, and ahimsa, so we had to ponder every day on each one of these things. Ahimsa, satya, asteya, small things. And that's when we went into the root of things and then came to know about industrialization, and all that led to the journey where the why became clear as to why am I doing this. And at the same time, we also figured out healthy means of how to eat healthy. You can also be plant-based and unhealthy. There are a lot of ultra-processed foods that you can eat. And that's how we started with. We started doing a like-for-like replacement for something. Like instead of meat, we tried mock meat and all that. But that still didn't solve the problem. They're kind of like cheat meals. But the true healthy food is very simple. You just need fruits, vegetables, nuts, seeds. The only thing you need is diversity on your plate. That's what we figured out. So leading into, maybe I can talk about a typical diet routine that works for me right now,
Yeah.
which has come through experimentation.
Yeah.
And so morning, I have a fixed meal. I'll have a cup of seasonal fruits, whatever fruits are available in the location I'm at. And then I'll have a smoothie, which is made of banana, dates, soy milk, or I prefer soy because it has more protein content.
Yeah.
And then a mix of all nuts and seeds, everything, almond, cashew, pista. I'll just take a handful of each. Sunflower, pumpkin, hemp seeds, the chia seeds, everything, whatever is there, and blend it. That's my smoothie, and fruits. And the third thing is, if optional, if there is another breakfast like idli, dosa, chila, poha, whatever we make at home.
Yeah.
So that's a breakfast. And then lunch, dinner, we compartmentalize things. So we have a compartment for grains. So we rotate our grains. So there's either white rice, brown rice, quinoa, red rice. We keep all these grains. We have some lentils. So tur dal, urad dal, masoor dal, chole, chana, rajma, everything. So pick one from here, pick one from here. Any green, spinach, moringa, methi, pick one. Make a khichdi and eat it. Yeah, it's simple.
Love it. I
You
love
don't
this
have to-
compartmentalization.
You don't have to do much.
So
It's very
sorted.
simple.
It's like storage, organized storage for your meals.
Yeah, and if you're feeling like you want to cook nice, then you'll look up on YouTube, make some fancy recipe.
recipes.
But this is all one pot recipes. Make a khichdi. It takes 10 minutes.
That's so true. But I love what you said about yoga and the first step being ahimsa and going to the roots, because what you did is you figure out the why first. A lot of times people now, even if they think about going plant-based and eliminating animal products out of their diet, they're figuring out the how before the why. Once your why gets cleared as to why am I doing this? Am I doing it for ethics? Am I doing it for health? And you understand the reasoning and the logic behind it, the how will, just figure itself out. There's a lot of information out there.
That is true. So I was in the other category where I figured out the why later. So I started with the health thing. and then when people used to question me, why am I doing this? I used to be awkward and not very convincing in my answer. We used to feel that initially.
Yeah.
But when the why became clear, it's as simple as just don't want to harm anybody, as simple. And within the framework that I have, I can stay fit. And the numbers will show it, the stats will show it. That's all, as simple as that.
So you said the why came later. How
Yes.
did the why become clearer, or how did the ethics behind it or the ethos behind it, how did that become clearer? Because you said you watched Game Changers first, and that had a profound impact on you. And then yoga happened. So were they like combination of things over time
Yes.
that compounded?
It was layered. I can elaborate.
Please.
So, first, I'd like to start off by saying that I was a meat eater who was in the category who used to ask the questions like, how will you get your protein? This is a food chain. I have done that to friends. So, one of my friends, Ronak, he was the first one who I knew. He became a vegan in the US. And that's where I heard the term a vegan. I have actually mocked him also. So I'm sorry, Ronak. But we're very good friends now.
No.
Yeah. So now we're on the same team. But,
Yeah.
from there to then when COVID hit, Snigdha, she wanted to adopt a puppy. And I was actually scared of dogs because I was bitten by a dog in my childhood. It was my fault now that I look back. That we were playing cricket and I was running too much. I went too close and it got scared and it bit me. Perhaps that's all it was.
They always
But I took
usually
5
happens,
injections and all that, so I had that.
Yeah, trauma.
But when we went to an adoption center, there was a litter of 4 puppies, and one puppy who we have right now, his name is Momo.
Momo
He came, he sat, and he
was
slept.
also vegan, by the way. In general, momos are vegan,
He
but
is.
his momo is also vegan.
Yes, he is now. Yes. So he came and he slept on my lap. He was this big. He was like 6 weeks or 8 weeks old.
So cute.
And that it created some shift within me. And then I was like, yeah, this is,
That's it. That's your baby.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that didn't make me vegan fully. I realized it later. So when slowly we saw some documentaries, I changed for health reasons. And then I was just noticing the hypocrisy where I'm taking care of one animal and what is the difference in between him and other animals, right? And when I came to know about industrialization, firstly about meat,
Yeah.
next I came to know about dairy, about how industrialized dairy works. And yeah, it was heartbreaking that how come I have not been awakened to this fact for 25 years of my life or 30 years of my life. And that then makes you understand how deeply embedded this is in society.
Yeah.
And it needs conscious people to consciously spread out facts. And yeah, that's when the why became clear, I think. Another tipping point about the why was when I stumbled upon the teachings of Acharya Prashantji. And I also was reading a lot of books from many domains, from science and tech to philosophy to ancient Indian texts, commentaries by different people. And somehow I felt that I need to believe something here and science is saying something else. Like there was some kind of a disconnect. But when I heard some of his videos, there were some blatant truths, but it just made sense. Like everything started making sense. Science and tech and everything came together. And
How so?
so to summarize, the teaching is essentially science is what he says. Science is study of objects. So you have nature
external world.
around you.
Yeah.
And you know how those objects interact with each other. There's gravity, electricity, magnetism, all that, right? And you do that by observing and noting, questioning things. So the way he defines spirituality or adhyatma, so adhyan of the atma, adhyan is study of atma inside. So that is a same a process, a questioning and observation of yourself, the subject who is seeing the objects. So those both are complementary to each other, and they two together form the whole truth. So you need knowledge of both, and you don't need to believe anything. You just can question and know for yourself. So that started a different journey of seeking, true seeking.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to learn new things every day.
I love that. It feels like it so beautifully came together. Different teachings and different things that you were reading or watching, or things that came into your life. It all just fit in. Whether it was yoga from Sattvic movement or Game Changers or Acharya Prashant's teaching,
Yes.
who we've had on the show, and he's
I watched that
profoundly
podcast.
impactful. I love him.
Yes.
So it just looks like a culmination of different things that validated the journey that you were on and solidified that path.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
And another thing is with sport also, I've learned a lot. Like cricket is kind of, each match is kind of a simulation of life, where you sort of go through highs and lows, you discover yourself again and again. So sport has also taught me a lot about myself, how I handle failure, how I overcome my fears, and all that. And competition. So the main thing is, again, to raise your own game versus to pull others down. So again, that's ties into not outwardly being focused, but inwardly. If you try to inwardly improve yourself or know yourself, the outward action follows.
That's incredible. I love that you said you used to be a meat eater, and you
Yes.
mocked someone
Yes.
on the other side, someone who
Yes.
was vegan.
Yes.
And there's so many of us who, I mean, obviously before being vegan, we were non-vegans. What was it from your perspective back then that made you defensive towards anyone saying, hey, don't eat animals, or, animals are not food? What made that wall go up, and how do you deal with that now? Or how do we contend when we talk to somebody, when we communicate this to somebody now? What makes people defensive?
So I can get right to the root of it. So the mind is very smart. It can rationalize anything that it wants to not forego. The core reason is taste. We've been conditioned to the texture of meat, the taste of meat, so much so that it's kind of like how you somehow internally know that something wrong is happening. So, for example, in childhood, I used to go to fish markets, or I used to ponder what's going on, but like we've been traditionally eating it since generations, right? So, and it's tasty. It is tasty. So it's kind of like, I would describe it similar to an addiction. For example, a guy who smokes, he knows it's not good for health, but the mind can reason, अरे यार एक बार करके कुछ नहीं होगा, and that's where it starts. And for meat eating, again, we come up with these things कि protein कहाँ से मिलेगा, this is reasonable, no, what if a lion is eating a deer, all those things, they come in there, but internally we know कि what you're doing is wrong, come on. So it's just we're not ready to confront ourselves. That's what leads into what Acharya ji said about self-knowledge. So the root is self-knowledge. Yes, you can reason, debate, and rationalize and prove their arguments wrong, which might work in the near term, but until their true reason becomes clear, like I said with my own journey, until my why was completely clear, I used to hesitate to answer convincingly. Or if a big gathering of friends is having meat, or I used to have some degree of temptation, and I have relapsed and eaten here and there. But when the why becomes clear, when you know what this supply chain entails and what cruelty is happening, and you know yourself, so innately every human being is loving and compassionate.
Yeah.
So I don't blame anybody, because they are also conditioned just like I was, and they're doing it in the right spirit. When they say also you'll become weak and all that, it's just their concerns because they love you. And similarly, once we know, if we start seeing a part of ourselves in the animals also, then it's just not food anymore. Like you just skip that part of the menu. I just see the 2-3 things that I can eat, and that's just not food anymore. So I'm very convincingly in my answer now. It's very simple. It doesn't need to die for me, or it doesn't need to be tortured for me. It's equally healthy, or if not, you can prove, we can go into the fitness aspect of it. But even if it wasn't, yeah, I mean, even if say I live 1 or 2 years less, why to make hundreds of animals die for my 10-15 days extra, 1 or 2 years extra?
Good news is you're going to live longer on a plant-based diet.
That's what I'm
definitely
saying.
the
So
good
the
news. Yeah, so
facts are
that's-
different, but
yeah.
even if they weren't,
Yeah.
like, does it make sense? And health is not just physical health, right? We are composed of body and mind.
Yeah.
So even if your body is healthier, you know you're being cruel, your mind is messed up. So you will accumulate that guilt within. It's not going to come out, but you have to look at holistic health also, right?
That's so true. And I do want to touch upon fitness because, as you mentioned, and being a professional athlete, I think it's so important to touch upon because there's recovery, there's stamina, there's fitness, all of these things that come into the picture. So, being non vegetarian to being vegan, how did it impact your performance?
In fact, it's been, I think, in last 5 years, to give you like stats, I have not even visited the physio even once. Like fitness, if you look at, I'm lifting pretty much the same weights as my teammates. We have a test called the yo-yo test in fitness test. I used to be at 16.5 to 17, which barely used to pass. And now I'm like at 19.8 or something, which is in the top 10% of the players in my team. So I feel I'm recovering much faster. It's anecdotal evidence because I can talk about myself. And I think I understand my body more subtly. I listen to my body. When it needs rest, I will rest. When I can push, I'll push. Like, you need to be honest in terms of, are you being lazy or you actually can't push? So I wouldn't point it out just to diet, because there have been other attitude shifts where I've started working harder, or I've had the spiritual journey, the yoga sadhana going on as well. So all these factors have contributed to it. But in terms of diet, it has been same or better, or much better, I'd say. So no difference. One thing, yes, I'd say, when I was following, we were trying to make everything at home. So we've actually made tofu at home from the soya beans. We've made soy milk at home, almond milk. We made peanut curd at home. I've actually also made almond ka shrikhand at home.
Yum, I need that recipe.
And very easy to make. So all these things when we were doing during, I was off time, not too many games at that time. That time I started feeling little weak. And when I went to the doctor, I came to know it was B12 deficiency.
Okay.
So that's the only thing. And then I just took one shot of B12, and then I shifted the soy milk to fortified milk, which is fortified with B12 and D3.
Fortified soy milk with
Fortified soy milk with B12 and D3. But the thing here to add is that I also saw normal milks like cow milks on the shelf, and they are also fortified with B12 and D3. So it's not a vegan specific or plant-based specific issue. It's a general issue. The meat also gets
injected
with B12. So it's a product of industrialization and not veganism or plant-based diet. So
that's the thing. The animals are fed with
yes,
these supplements. Instead, I think we can ingest it without ingesting
correct,
the animals.
Correct. That was one shift. And traveling is a little bit of a challenge. Used to be. but I found my way through it
What
also.
do you do now during tournaments,
So-
during matches?
Most of the countries I go to are pretty vegan friendly in terms of I'll at least find 2-3 options, 2-3 good places to go. So it's just there's Happy Cow.
Yeah.
You have so many
It's a
options.
great app for anyone who's traveling. It gives you
So it's
vegan,
been
vegetarian
go-to.
restaurants around you, and it's super easy to find the best places.
So we went to Japan, which people around us thought, how will you be vegan in Japan and all that? But we've had the best time
Me
there,
too.
actually. Tokyo, Kyoto. I think every meal we've had a different kind of ramen and very distinct taste, flavorful. We went to this one Buddhist temple, I remember, and it was like a 7-course vegan meal with we sat on the traditional bamboo mat and everything. It was very nice.
That sounds
So
incredible.
beautiful journey, and there were like small shops which are purely vegan. So you just have to find. So there is like hira chupa hua hai. You just have to find it.
No, it's true. So many of these cultures are traditionally, historically plant-based. Their roots are, that. And you've watched Live to 100 on Netflix.
Live to 100 I haven't watched.
So there are these places.
Oh, the blue zones.
The blue zones.
Yeah, I know about the blue zones. Yeah,
And
yeah.
that's what they did in blue zones. They ate predominantly plant-based food. They had thriving social lives, and they worked with bare hands. They had very active lifestyles, and those were a couple of parameters that made them live up to 100. They always had tofu. I mean, tofu has been such a big part of Asian culture for centuries. So now to have all these myths even around soy or tofu, they're completely unfounded.
That is true. I mean, I have been having soy milk every day now. I've gotten that a question as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's just the performance is showing. I mean, there's no real change. It's been fine. And one more thing is Indian traditional food also, if you look at it, especially South Indian food, it's vegan by default. If we just cook in coconut oil, like idli, dosa, vada, sambar, upma, poha, misal pav, pav bhaji, everything you can eat. Like
Yeah.
all the charts.
We've added butter, ghee, cheese to that now.
You don't have to, like, yeah.
But originally I feel like you could always just eat it.
And they're
plant-based.
whole meals because by default they have grain and lentils, which give you the complete protein.
Yeah.
And you have lots of veggies on the on the side. You squeeze lemon, which activates the iron.
Yeah.
So it's, if you look at the traditional recipes, they're already holistic. So you just have to go back to the roots. The simplest thing that we do right now with us, all three of us. I have a 16-month-old daughter as well. We took
Teemahi?
yeah.
I
we-
love that name. I love her
Thank you.
name.
So we eat a khichdi every day.
Mm.
A 1-pot recipe, 5 minutes, 10 minutes it takes. So yeah, it's not that difficult.
Yeah. I think what it does is it challenges the notion of masculinity and what it means to be an athlete or what it means to be a manly man. That you need to have dairy, you need to eat meat. Also whey protein, that's a big one. Whey protein and eggs dominating the fitness industry right now. What's your take on that?
So there are 2 layers to that. So one, I can talk from a sports perspective from my personal experience. So yes, when I decided that I'm going to be vegan and plant-based, initially, obviously, my teammates came with a good intention, with a concern that tu weak ho jayega and how will you manage and all that. But I thought the best way was, because I was clear with the why. I was like, you trust me, let me follow this process. It will take time, but I'll find my way. It took time for me to get the right diet through research, but when I found my way, I don't have to do anything special. So whenever there was a team session, a gym session, suppose, I'll show up there, I'll start doing asanas for an hour, and they'll just see me doing a headstand. They'll see me doing advanced asanas, and then I'll do the gym and I'll lift the same weights as them. So they're just seeing it. And on the field, they're seeing me run and sprint and bowl 10 overs. And then the question started shifting to why do you do it, to how do you do it? Or
That's a new one.
कैसा हो रहा है, and I'm not perfect still. I'm also still learning. Like I've made my mistakes. Like I told you, I got a B12. I had an issue, and then I sorted it out.
Yeah.
So it's just about once your why is clear, the how will get sorted out. There are ways, and there are so many people who've done it. It's not like we are the pioneers in this.
That's true.
So that's a luxury that we have.
Yeah, you're right about that.
Yeah.
So that's when the shift happened. People started asking you how you're doing it and wanting
And now
to
I see
replicate.
questions. Ki, okay, then around me they'll come to a vegan restaurant. They'll share a meal. That's a start.
Yeah.
So let's see how that goes ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anything around whey protein or eggs you want to touch upon?
Protein powder, I also used to take. I started with pea protein initially, but when I realized that whole food plant based was working, like when I understood the power of nuts and seeds, and essentially that, and instead of pea protein, just eat peas. No, what's the problem? Like, so
So you've eliminated protein,
yeah, no protein powder also.
extra protein powder
No protein.
intake.
Only supplement would be, if you consider it a supplement, is the fortified B12, D3
D3 soy
in
milk.
the soy
That's
milk.
about
That's all. Yeah, just natural diet. Normal, and mostly Indian foods like simple chila, dosa, sattu, a smoothie that I mentioned,
Yeah.
fruits, vegetables.
So I met Patrick in Germany recently, and Patrick said exactly the same thing, that he doesn't need protein powders because his diet is comprised in a way that he gets everything from plants. And we always talk about this, that animals get their protein from plants. We
Yes.
don't really need to eat animals to get that protein, and plants are a complete full source of protein on their own. And that just gets debated and challenged so many times. But have you felt that protein deficiency since you've switched? Have you felt that you're not getting enough protein, or have you been asked this question?
So there I would say, how do you measure it, right? You don't. When you're eating food. You're not eating carb, protein when you think you're eating. And then the measure is the outcome, right? The action, the tangible outcome is how much weights am I lifting? Am I recovering fast? Am I able to run fast? Am I able to have the stamina and the power to compete? And that's there. So I'm guessing the process would have been right. That's why that's there. And it's not there anecdotally, it's there for 5 years.
Yeah.
So that's a good enough sample size to, I guess. I don't have a test report saying that I have enough protein, but I guess the results or the outcomes are good indicators.
Fair enough. Did it challenge your definition or your notion of manhood or masculinity, being vegan?
I did not see it that way. It was, for me, it was just being true to myself. I mean, whoever. So that's the sport part of veganism in terms of like muscular strength or physical strength.
Yeah.
The second part is being emotional, or this is an emotional decision, right? Being vegan, because you're feeling love and compassion towards another being.
Yeah.
So showcasing of emotions is also sometimes in that category, where you would actually, I wouldn't say they don't feel emotions, you are actually feeling it, but because you don't want to show it, you're putting up a facade of strength. So when you're not the same inside and outside, that's a challenge to your existence. So instead, if you can confront your emotion, cry when you have to, laugh when you have to, and then show external show of strength, but now you're internally also strong, externally also strong. So that is better than, for the sake of it, rub under the carpet and the carpet is clean. You're showing the carpet is clean. But it takes effort to go clean the muck out.
Of course.
So
That's the hardest thing to do.
And I'd rather go that journey, and it's okay to be lost in the muck as well, because we have a lot of muck to clean. We still do. So I'm learning iteratively, trying to discover myself and weed out the toxicity one after the other.
How does this work in your relationship? Did you and your wife go vegan at the same time? Did she go vegan before you, or did she help in your journey?
So she's been a driving force actually, and very grateful to have her in my life, because we're on the same page right now. So she always had love and compassion towards animals. She wants to do something in animal rescue. She's very passionate about that, and she reads up a lot. So from there, she used to actually throw facts at me, and I was the ignorant one. And not just about animal rights, about the larger problem of sustainability and climate change in general. And she's been the person who's been throwing truth bombs at me, which were tough to digest, but I'm glad they happened. And then slowly, I also started to become aware. It was actually she turned vegan overnight.
How come?
It was very same things, like the same documentaries and the same reading and the same friend circle, but her why was very clear from day one. So hats off to her, because we both were like hardcore meat eaters.
How does this translate into parenting and raising your daughter?
Firstly, parenting is very special journey. I don't think anything more special than that. So I'm really looking forward to it. Still learning. She's 18 months old. For us, it was a no-brainer because our whys were clear, and we figured out from a diet perspective, from a lifestyle perspective, what works for us. Yes, we make mistakes here and there, but we admit them and we correct immediately. So in terms of raising Dhimahi vegan, I have a little different take on that, where I feel we don't need to raise a kid. A kid is innately loving and compassionate. It's a blank slate, and a blank slate is love. That's our true self. And when we grow up, we accumulate layers of ignorance through societal conditioning. So the best thing we can do is firstly cleanse ourselves as much as we can and just be ourselves at home. So what we do is we sit and eat with her. She's eating pretty much slowly. We transitioned into what we eat. We don't give her sugar yet. We give her less salt now. But it's the same sabzi. She eats the same oatmeal like what I do. And we find hacks of so I can give you a gist of what she eats maybe.
Yeah, because
for now.
so many people would question that a baby being vegan.
So morning, I start with the same milkshake that I have in a small cup. The same cup of fruits, seasonal fruits. She loves fruits. And nuts and seeds are in the shake itself.
Right.
That, and then I give her a bowl of oatmeal. That oatmeal has oats. It has ragi. So ragi is high in calcium. So we'll just put ragi powder. We'll put amaranth. That's also another millet.
Yeah.
Then we'll put chia seeds and hemp seeds. We mix it, and she loves it. She gobbles it.
Wow. A healthy baby.
Because even I'm eating it with her. So I'm eating it. It's yummy for me. She's eating it, and she says it's yummy. But she wants me to sit next, or she wants Snigdha to sit next to her, and we are eating all together. And she's eating by herself also. She started eating by herself. She picks up the spoon. She used to make a mess out of it, but now she's gaining more control.
So cute.
So we allowed her to make that mess. So we are just trying to be there and honest to each other. If we make a mistake, we admit it to each other. We try to do that so that she's learning that, okay, if you do something wrong, admit it, course correct. And and we have been lucky to have friend circle also who are not a vegan, but they are understanding of us. So when we have common meals, we visit our friend's place, they make sure we have a vegan
They're accommodating
meal
and
there.
inclusive.
For
That acceptance
baby.
is important.
So they have acceptance. So that is we have been grateful for that as well.
Yeah.
And even we are learning day by day, but that's the processes of being around, being ourselves and being better versions of ourselves. And she spends the most time around us by definition. So she's going to pick that up, hopefully. But let's see how
That's
that goes.
beautiful. I love that so much. And I think, as you said, the values just translate. And it's not about you teaching her anything, because I do genuinely believe that we were all empathetic as children, and we all genuinely loved animals, and that's our blank slate. That's how we grow up.
Even our adults are. They're just covered with
Layers and
the
layers.
layers and layers which are
Tradition.
tough to remove. The older you get, it's tougher to remove
Yeah.
because it takes like inertia, right? It's a simple logic like a car driving at speed. You know you're going in the wrong direction. It takes guts to put the brakes, because when you put brakes, it will generate friction and heat
Yeah.
and pain. But when you go through that pain, then you'll stop and go in the right direction. But most people are afraid of that pain. And same thing in everything. If you look at gym, if you're working out after a long time, the first 2 days in the gym are the hardest.
Yeah.
You'll get aches and pains everywhere because your body hasn't moved. Same with yoga. I couldn't reach my toes. But it takes small shift, and it happens over months. It takes a year sometimes
Yeah.
to then actually see tangible differences. But that's when the intent should be clear. If your intent is there, there'll be a delay between the outcome and the intent. So it starts with the intent.
So raising a daughter on vegan values, what do those conversations look like during your wife's pregnancy? Conversations with family members or doctors? Did they come to you with concerns? And there's so many people who tell you, why are you forcing your beliefs on your child instead of letting her make her own decisions?
Yeah, so firstly, veganism is not a belief. it is a philosophy, and it is just the right thing to do if you look at things honestly. So that's one thing. Secondly, it was not about whether we will do it or not. It was about how we will do it. And like I said previously, we are not pioneers. So we had looked up people, we found people on Instagram who were posting regularly pregnancy journey, parenthood journey. So we started following such people. We read books. Snigdha read a lot, and we used to discuss and share, and both of us made sure that we are on the same page with respect to what questions we might encounter, and they come from the right place. Again, like I said, they come because of love or anxiety or fear that maybe we're not doing the right thing or something like that. But then we had answers to each because we had experience of reading up and following people who are doing that and who are into their journey that way with scientific facts.
Yeah.
So once you have that, we've been lucky. Our doctor has also been vegan understanding. So we've asked for options in the vegan or plant-based domain, and she's found it out for us, or we've read up on that. And the compartmentalization of food, that's what we figured out during the pregnancy days, where we had to make sure that she's getting enough and more. So that's when we figured out this thing works for us, like the mix of grains and lentils and making a khichdi or pulao, and then the smoothie for that extra energy. Yeah, it's worked fine through pregnancy. When we had Dhimahi, yes, even I had a few things because baby also we were not sure. But when we saw vegan parents posting their journey as well, it gave us the faith that, okay, this can be done. But we'll be all ears, all eyes open, we'll monitor. And so far it's been so good. Like, she's grasping things fast. She's hitting her development milestones at a good rate, and it's been fine so far. It's early days, obviously, because later when she starts school and all that, that's when the real,
Yeah, because
when
there's peer
she
pressure, there's
starts
other
getting her
children.
own personality, which she's already getting now.
Yeah.
She says a few words, she asks questions. So let's see. But we'll keep reading up, keep following journeys of other people who've done it before us, and it has been done, it can be done. So for us, it's not about why, it's about how, and we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about your other baby? Because you said your rescued puppy
Yes.
is now transitioning to a plant-based diet as well. And I know that dogs can thrive on a plant-based diet. Dogs are omnivores and they can be fully vegan and fully healthy. So what's that journey been like with the puppy?
Yeah, so Momo, so another segue into that, right? For Dhimahi, now she already loves animals in terms of she has an elder brother at home. She calls him Momo Dada.
Oh,
So Dada is elder brother in Marathi and Konkani.
yeah.
So
Calls him Mama Dada.
Momo Dada.
That's adorable.
And she plays with him, she feeds him. Yeah, so we were also thinking a lot in terms of Momo's diet, where we were feeling guilty a little bit that okay, we vegan, but he is still eating meat. Or then we researched on that. We used to give him boiled sweet potato, berries, vegetables, and all that. But he also used to eat his dry food, and
Kibble, the meat kibble.
and that had meat.
Yeah.
So then we did some research. This was recent. I don't know why it took us that long, but yeah, I'm glad we finally went in that direction. And initially, it took time for him to transition, and he actually used to not eat. So there were days where one day he won't eat, the next day he'll have bile, and then he'll eat. So he was very irregular with his meals in general, like pre-vegan diet. And anecdotally, once he transitioned, he's actually eating 2-3 meals a day, and the food that Dhimahi spills, I told you, right? We don't need to clean it up.
He will run, Mama Dada.
We don't need to clean it
duty.
up.
He's the
And
dishwasher at home.
and she sneaks it. Like if she doesn't want anything, she'll sneak it and she'll give it to him. And he's eating it. So surprisingly, he's eating really well.
Yeah.
He used to have bloating issues. Now he doesn't have any issues. He's highly energetic. He's been fine.
Wow.
So that has also been working good for us so far. And it's a new thing for us. Even we didn't know that
Yeah.
he could do that. And it's working for him. Yeah.
Was that the same for you health wise? Did you see any positive health benefits in your own self, your own body after you became vegan?
I personally felt a huge boost of energy. I'm sleeping better and recovering much faster between games. Usually, when you have a long tournament, towards the end of the tournament is when your true fitness is getting tested because you're a little burnt out. And in that, you have to play an intense final or a semi-final or a crunch games. And I felt like I was recovering well. Like I said, last 5 years, I've hardly seen the physio. I've only seen the physio for the pre-tour assessment of fitness. And I'm a fast bowler, and we are very prone to stiff muscles, stiffness. But the hour and a half of yoga routine every day opens everything up. And it's just a cycle where you eat well. And it's important to listen to your body, and everybody's body is different. So there's not a one solution fits all from a diet perspective as well. So that's why, again, don't blindly follow what I ate. You have to do your own research, you have to do your own journey.
Listen to your own body.
And we found also something that works for us after a while. It took us months of ups and downs. But because this path is comparatively less walked on, it will take a few people. But then you will have, like how other diet has strong recommendations of this too, this will work well for you. We could be the ones who are forming it, and that will help maybe subsequent people hoping for that. Yeah.
When you were talking about Momo and Momo's diet, and you didn't realize that you were saving an animal, you'd rescued this puppy, but at the same time, you were feeding this animal with some other dead animal to keep it alive, right? But there are so many hidden things in our day-to-day lives that we don't realize. And the more vegan you become, the more, these things start revealing themselves to you.
Yes.
From, fine bone china to, I don't know, fine bone china was made of real cow bones to,
yes, I saw
wool.
that video. Yes.
Right, and then I realized the other day that shellac, which is in chocolate, that comes
Yes.
from insects. There's so many things that I feel like I still discover every day. But it's the same thing with sport and so many sport equipments. I used to play badminton professionally. And I
Nice.
didn't, as a kid, I didn't realize that the feather shuttlecock just felt so much nicer and so much smoother to, play with than the plastic ones we were given during practices. it was just like, oh, this is faster, this is smoother. So at every professional match, every tournament, we would get the feather shuttles.
Yes.
And if you're playing at that speed, in one or two back and forths, in one or two rallies, it gets destroyed and you get a new one. I found out recently that it takes about 12 ducks to make that one feather shuttle. So it's an insane amount of torture per feather shuttle. And one match will end up wasting hundreds and thousands of shuttles, a professional tournament, if you're thinking about it. And imagine this multiplied across throughout the year, different cities, different, matches. And that blew my mind. And I think about it when you think about cricket, even the leather ball. How do you contend with that? Because to you, veganism is obviously, it's not just limited to diet, but it became a part of your lifestyle. Did you come to terms with the fact that you were playing with a leather ball? Did it bother you that it was a animal-based equipment, but it's just something that's so normalized and there's nothing you can do about it? But how do you sit with that?
Like you said, it's a journey where every day you become aware, first of all, whenever you're going to a store or buying any product or using anything. Now that you try to delve deep into the supply chain as to how it's coming from, and more things start revealing itself. And I was surprised how this didn't reveal itself to me until very recently, that I felt like a little bit of a hypocrite, but it is just deeply embedded in the sport. I mean, the sport is the love of my life. I've played all these years and I love playing. But like you mentioned, we have different kinds of balls which we use at training for specific purposes, like which are made of rubber and
Cork as well?
soft balls. Like the leather ball itself, the internal core is cork.
It's just the outer cup.
The outer covering is leather and it's stitched with, I think that also is non-vegan. What is
The hide.
what is stitched to it. So I went into that and I tried to understand. But then also I saw a story of some cricket club in England which started a vegan cricket ball, and they tried to become a vegan club. So there are people who are springing up here and there, and I'm pretty sure with technology like we have fall leather in car seats, right? So I'm pretty sure there is technology to do that. It just needs more awareness. Like me being a vegan is getting aware now. So it just takes more awareness now that I'll be more conscious of using it. Yes, I'll feel, but then let's see, hopefully.
Is that something you want to bring up in the cricketing world?
I did discuss this with my roommate lately, that this has been bothering me a little bit. Man, we love the game so much. We need to do something. But I think the solution is just to spread more awareness like that, like talks like these, and looking into the technology. Like I said, I tried to read up about how the ball is made, and it's not just the ball. There are a lot of shoes, pads. I'm pretty sure I'll find something here and there. I haven't delved deep into all that.
It's a
But
it's a rabbit's hole.
but then if you go there, like it's not just sport. The whole world is non-vegan by definition.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you can go into the niche if you want to, if you feel really strongly about a specific issue. But like I said, that the root cause, when you go to Acharyaji's teachings, the root is lack of self-knowledge. So I tried to then shift back into trying to fix the root. You can fix the branches. It's important. It's important because it's like if you're wounded, you need a band-aid. But that doesn't stop your tendency of being diseased. Or if you have a fever, you will take a paracetamol for... That's important. But why were you diseased in the first place? That is what is a bigger issue which we need to tackle. And I think we need to go to the root. But it feels good to see like the story that I read about the cricket club which started trying to make a vegan ball, and small things. There are so many things. If you look around, you'll see so many non-vegan things. So it's easy to
I
get
hope not here. I really hope
not here.
my
But,
heart, my vegan heart.
Not here, but in
I've
general,
tried
in
really hard.
the world in general.
Even while doing up this house, you're so right about that, because I had to be so particular with curtains to seat cover to even rugs, because sometimes most of the rugs are made out of wool, most of the curtains are made out of silk, chairs are made out of leather. Your sofa cushioning is either made out of, leather or velvet, which also comes from silks. I had to be so particular about everything that at the end of the day, the architect and the interior designer would be like, I don't know how to deal with
Hard,
this
it's
woman.
hard. It's
You come across as a difficult person in the room for just asking for ethical choices. And
Yes.
I really want to live in a world where that's normalized.
Yes.
Where I don't have to ask, when I'm buying a piece of clothing if that's vegan or not. Why is the vegan option harder to find than, the one that comes out of cruelty? The same way I think we've come a long way with food, and I hope we get there with fashion. I hope we get there with sports equipment, with music equipment. Our
Yes,
tabla is
yes.
made out of,
Yes,
leather.
yes.
I really hope we get there with larger lifestyle in particular than just talking about what's on our plate. Because it's all funding the same
Yes.
system.
Yeah, I think food is what is the most evident because it drives us or it powers us. So that has come a long way, like you said. Through awareness, people from those fields, if they awaken, and then they can start a journey in their field. So that's how these networks are forming. I can see so many people. I saw quite a few of your podcasts. Like I follow Arvind, like animal activist,
Arvind, animal activist, yeah.
Shivam Nandi.
Yeah, Shivam Nandi,
Who-
Arvind, animal activist.
Like hats off to them for just going onto the street, asking people questions.
Yeah.
He goes to schools and all that. It's really fascinating. So even if he's talking to 1,000 people, if 2 people get awakened, that's still good. So you're creating network bubbles, which will slowly coalesce and form one big ocean.
I hope so.
And hope so it happens in our lifetime. I hope so too. But that's all we can do. We can do what is in our control and
Yeah.
start spreading in our sphere of influence. That's the best we can do. And the sphere will expand and we'll meet. There'll be common people like we met today. So,
Yeah.
and it'll expand, hopefully.
And that's the best part of this, I think, it's communities, meeting people like you who are living true to their values, who also make me feel like I'm on the right path. And I want to do this because we all do it out of empathy. We all do it because, we want to be kinder living beings. So it reinforces what I do. So thank you.
Yes, thank you. Likewise.
Sort of any message to anyone watching this, any message to your younger self, or anyone who wants to be fitter, who wants to be healthier, who wants to live a more balanced life. Any athlete's perspective you want to give them?
Athlete's perspective is, I would say, plant-based whole food diet has helped me transform my life. Secondly, it's not just about the sport. It's about being true to yourself, being true and one with nature. We are part of nature, and that goes into whole sustainability. So the definition of religion is dharma, we say, right? So the definition of dharma itself is dharayati iti dharmaha. That which sustains is dharma. So sustainability is actually the true definition of dharma itself is sustainability or living in harmony with nature.
That's beautiful.
And what that means, what is nature? Your body is nature, everything is nature. So if you feel you are nature, so not even living beings, you will also see this book as nature. So you will take care of the book. So small things, when you see yourself in everything, then you are automatically compassionate and loving towards that. And that's how you'll progress. I think that's all is the message is to just see yourself in everything and action will follow. The right action will follow.
Wow. I'm going to steal that because that's such a beautiful way of describing sustainability. And I think without me even asking you what does sustainability mean to you, which is always my last question, you answered that so beautifully. So thank you. This feels like my dharma. Saurabh, thank you so much for being here with me today. Thank you for taking out the time, and thank you so much for everything that you do, not just talking about your values, but living them and performing them on a global stage. I still don't know how you balance multiple lives, but you do. You seem to do it so well, and you seem to excel at it. And I will credit a lot of that to you being vegan. But thank you for this conversation, and I've learned so much. And I love that it's so deeply rooted in ahimsa and philosophy and religion and finding the truth within yourself. And I love that distinction between science and spirituality. And it's made me want to go deeper and understand why I do what I do. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a pleasure being here, and best wishes to you and your team as well. You're doing a great job, and any way I can support, I'll be glad to.
Likewise, I think we just need more vegans out there who are louder, who are living their best lives. And I think the eventual goal is people will come and ask you not why you're doing it, but show me how you're doing it so they
Yes.
can do it too. I think that's
Yes.
that's the goal.
That's the goal.
So
Yeah.
thank you for doing that.
Thank you, Shreya.